craft beer, it is a kind of very loose term, but I would say best way to describe it is that craft beer it's a bit more sort of interesting beer, generally small batch as well, you know, handmade, local producers.
That's a cask. Yeah. So these are unpressurized containers that go to the trade, like to the pubs. They order these, and then they look after them. They stick them in their cellar for a couple of days, vent it, tap it, and it takes about 2 days for it to get all the sediment drops out. The final bit of conditioning happens, so when they pull it out, it's nice and clean and clear.
Local, tasty and hip, craft beer is fast becoming the tipple of choice for the discerning British drinker, and nowhere epitomises this boom better than London. According to research firm Mintel, 38% of Londoners above the legal age for drinking have consumed a craft beer in the last 6 months. That's more than 2 million people. For those who make and sell the stuff, it's a dream come true. And it shows why the explosion of craft breweries in London has been nothing short of spectacular.
When we started, I think there were 9 breweries. So there were 3-4 standalone breweries in 2009. So Sandbrook's had just opened, 2008. Meantime, had been around for about 10 years. Well, they're about 12 years old now. And Fuller's. And then the Budweiser brewery on the south bank of the Thames. So there were 4, and then there were about 6 brew pubs. And now there are 70, I'm imagining. So that tells a certain story.
I was working at a place called the Queen's Head in King's Cross, which is it's a craft beer pub that's been there sort of like about 5 or 6 years now. I just saw what they were doing, and just only having interesting beer and nothing mainstream. It kind of clicked really, and I was like, it's amazing that there's actually more options than just sort of tasteless lager. And I realised that I'd been drinking too much tasteless lager for too long.
The growth has coincided with a revolution in consumption. The slow and food drink movements have almost grown in tandem. People are becoming more interested in what they put in their body, and sales of organic and local produce, both food and drink, have skyrocketed.
It comes off the back of the organic food movement of like the early 2000s, which everyone was concerned about what they ate and what chemicals are in the food. And then it kind of moved on to what they drink. And so beer is like the major one. Wine is also organic. Wine is pretty big. British wine is very big at the moment as well.
It's kind of funny that you'd have quite a lot of very highly regarded restaurants with, say, Michelin stars who, when you walk in, they might offer you a generic lager as the beer. They've come to realize that, well, how can you offer this when you spend so much time and care and attention into every other facet of your menu?
Compared to lager in kegs, which is just generally cold and fizzy, that's generally what it's seen as. The craft keg stuff is seen as like packed full of flavour, but still cold and fizzy. That people really like that, especially in the summer. It's just like, where do you want to be in a park with something cold and fizzy? But now you can have that and it be tasting amazing, which is a massive pull.
Interestingly, the craft beer industry is one which has benefited from the global financial crisis. With less money in their pockets after 2008, people demanded a better quality product and more bang for their buck. Add to this the government's small brewers' duty relief, which gives tax breaks of up to 50% to brewers which brew no more than 60,000 hectolitres per year, and the incentives to being a small quality brewer are obvious. But with so many people brewing beer, is there a chance that we will reach a saturation point? What does the future hold for London's craft brewing community?
I always have difficulty seeing past next Tuesday, never mind the future.
I think we've still got a few more years of people sort of really pushing out their beers, and some breweries, such as sort of Camden and Meantime, they have gotten so big that people do kind of question, are they sort of craft beers? But again, you have to remember that they started small, and they're still making the same beer. It's just there's just more of a demand for it, which is great. More people out there want their beer. Whether we get a sort of saturation point where it's just everyone's sort of sick of craft beer, I'm not too sure. I hope not.